Hello everybody, welcome to Scribbles with Jonathan. I'm your host, Jonathan Rector. You guys can check out my website and my work at jonathanrector.com. And if you guys are on Twitter as well, by all means check me out on there. My username on that is Art by Jar. The topic, I wanted to do a very quick video. A buddy of mine, we were just talking about comics, and I wanted to do this video when I had the chance, and I actually ran out of I finished my work for today, so I figured, well, I had this free time, I'd do this quick video. And it's about mini comics, and my whole personal time, besides working on a separate project that I have, has just been consumed with mini comics, and it's all because I saw a video of showing me a very simple way of how to make it, and I wanted to relate that video to you guys as well, but then also show you a very quick way that you can make a mini comic from start to finish. You can finish it in an hour. You could take a couple weeks to do it. It's no big deal. And I did want to say right at the beginning, though, this isn't the only way to make mini comics or art or comics and all that good stuff at all. It's just something that really helps me, and I'm going to show you something that's real cool. And in case I forget, one thing that I have noticed is if you have like a big giant story that you just can't seem to find the time to do or something like that, you could actually break that huge story down into a mini comic. Or the other way around. You could do a very small mini comic, and then once you have the time, you could turn it into like a 22-pager or a trade paperback novel. And I'm just going to show you how some of the things that I do, for one way to do all this stuff. So all you need is this guy right here, an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, regular printer paper. And also, I'm going to include a link in the show notes here from the video that I saw that showed me how to do this and got me really jazzed about it. So all you got to do is get the I guess it'll be the horizontal, the long way. Just fold it over. Just gonna line it up here. I'm gonna get some nice creases in there. Fantastic. Anyway, so you fold it over once like that, and then again, one more time, just keeping just keep folding the long way. And what this is going to do, this is going to get you an 8-page comic, including a cover, so that'd be, I guess, 7 pages. If you did this twice, it's going to give you, what, 8 and 8, 16, so that would be a 17-page comic with a cover. And this is the size. And I'll be honest, as soon as I had done this, when I was following along with the instructions of the video that I saw, something about this all of a sudden I was like, man, just the idea of the feeling of turning pages, and I was just like, I gotta do this. This just feels so cool. So the next step that the guy did, where did I put my marker? Oh, come on, where'd I go? I know I had everything all set. Naturally, I lost the marker. Okay, 1 second, just let me try to find one. How do you lose a marker? Oh, there it is. Marker's so big, especially Sharpie. How do you lose it? Alright, so what you do, what the guy recommended was to do it nice and small in the corner, so you could, you're going to see why we're going to do that, but what I liked to do was do this on like a master copy, which this would be. In the master copy, what I mean is it's like your master template would probably be the better term, and what I can do is I can relate that to something else, and I'll show you in a second. So all you're going to do is just write a big C on there for cover. Just grab one of the pieces, and it's going to get a little weird because the pages are all connected still. And just write a number 1 on that one, number 2. We're just going to do that all the way through. And anybody that's seen people do mini comics, I know this is all probably same old stuff for you. But I know there are some people like me that had never seen them. And I just wanted to make a quick video to show you guys, and then show you like another quick little step here. Okay, so that's 7. So we got all 7 pages. So we close that up. And once you unfold it, something really whack's going to happen. As you can see, there's cover. If you flip it over, there's your page 1, page 2's over here, page yada yada yada. The reason why I like to do it this way is because now I have this master template, I guess I like to call it, that I can put at the side. And if I folded another piece of paper, I could go in here and do all the artwork, And then what you would do basically is once you have all this, most people will go to the copy shop and they'll just photocopy both sides. It doesn't get easier than that. Then once you get your copy to it, you fold it. Actually, you're going to want to cut it right here too. See if I can get a cheesy cut on that. Let me just line it up here. So now I have it, and all you would do is just staple it in here, or staple it on the inside, and now you've got 1 pages, 2 pages, 3, 4, all the way to 7. And again, something about holding that, it just feels like you want to make content for it. Okay, so that's how you make the comic. But now, what do you do to put anything in there? And I'm going to show you just a very quick way that I'll come up with a story, especially for these mini comics. And I've come up with quite a few ideas that once I get the time, I really want to get them done because they're pretty fun. The first thing I try to establish with any story that I do, and if you're not familiar with writing stories and stuff like that, that's totally fine. I'm just going to give you a very bullet-pointed list of how I would come up with a story, a very plot-driven story, But again, this is just one way of doing it, and it gets you working. If you're roadblocking in somewhere, and this might help you out. For those of you that are familiar, and if you're not, I'm going to talk about it. Is the 3-act structure of a story. Okay, and what I'm worried about is, let me just write it down here. That'll be Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. The first thing I'm concerned about is space. How much space do I have to work with? And in this case, I'm going to go with the 7-page comic. So I have 7 pages of real estate to work with here, okay? Now, for those of you that aren't familiar, Act 1 and Act 3, if you were to split the story up in half, okay, so let's say you had a 100-page book, okay? 50 pages of it, give or take, would be Act 2, and then 25 pages would be Act 1, and 25 pages would be Act 3, give or take, okay? So knowing that, you know how you can play, with 7 pages, half of that would be what? 4 pages, so we're going to use about 3 to 5 pages for Act 2, okay? So 5, 6, 7, just for kicks, we'll do the 5. 5 for Act 2, and then that'll give us 1 page for the introduction and 1 page for the conclusion. Usually what I like to do, if you're trying to establish a little bit more in the beginning, you might want to bring this down to 4 pages and bring a 2 up there, or if you want your resolution to play it a little bit, maybe buff it up there. But just for simplicity's sake, I'm going to do it this way, okay? So this total gives us 7 pages, okay? Now, there's 3 other things that you're going to need in a story, in this type of story, we'll say. In Act 1, or in the beginning of a story, you need to introduce not necessarily every single character, but usually either the most important characters or the characters that are going to see us all the way through the story, okay? So somehow they have to get introduced. And in this story, we're just going to come up with one just for kicks, whatever. It'll be a hero, because heroes are usually pretty easy to write. And then we'll probably talk about a villain or show a villain. Act 5 is dealing with the problem that we're introduced to. Okay, so we have 5 pages to deal with a problem. So we could show the hero losing, winning, whatever. And then Act 3 is a resolution. But there's a little trick you can do in between these two here, okay? Usually right before the resolution, or right at the brink, right at that peak moment, the hero has to come up against something that'll either change the character, or the character will change the presented problem and go through it. So a quick example would be, let's just say, a kid that's addicted to candy, but he knows that his teeth will rot if he has one more candy, okay? So the end of the story, he finally finds a candy store, but he has to, maybe there's a cat he's trying to save. Now, in order to save that cat, he can either eat that candy in order to give him the energy that he'll need, that special energy to go save that cat, or he can turn around and maybe he can find someone on the street that can do it for him, okay? And I know it's really primitive, but it gives you the character that little drama piece where it's like, does the character give in, take the candy, lose his teeth, but then at the end of the day, he saved the cat, didn't he? Or on the other end, I can't give in to that little addiction, and I'm going to try to find somebody to help me out. And again, all of that is, it goes much deeper than this kind of just very quick that I'm saying, but, it's kind of like the point or the message you're trying to get through your story, what you're trying to tell. And that little moment right there is usually the most important part of the story, and how we get there's the fun part. But the most important part, arguably, is that little problem that happens towards the end, okay? So, again, we're going to do a quick hero story. So we have Act 1, or Act 5 and Act 1, okay? So we're going to say, I don't know, we'll say, we're going to have a hero, okay? And we'll just put his name Hero, okay? So we're going to introduce the hero and possibly the villain. And the villain's got has a bad guy with him, like a little henchman, okay? So we're going to introduce on page 1 the hero, the villain, and a hench. Which means henchman. Okay? Now, so that means you have your cover, really cool, whatever you can get on there. When the person opens the page, the first thing they're going to start to see is our hero with the henchman maybe talking about the big bad villain, or the villain's actually there. And then right away, that kind of starts to spark things in your head, like, okay, so How would I show that on this page? And actually having this with you, or for me anyway, I know how much real estate I can fit on here and how much text because I can hold it. I can see it. It's printed at a 1-to-1 ratio with this, you know? So it gets your mind playing. So we're going to say everybody's there. Everybody's having a big old party, a nice little dance there, right? And maybe the villain's got the damsel in distress. That's the big catalyst. That's what's gonna move the story towards the end. So the hero needs to defeat the villain because he has the damsel in distress, okay? So I'm just going to put lady, and that's what she's going to represent, okay? So now I know that's what I need to show, okay? And let's say you had a team of 50,000 people. You know, that could still represent the hero. You just show a gigantic group of people. Maybe they're trying to show something, right? So Act 5, or Act 2, I have to have 5 pages of the hero trying to get the lady. So we know right away there's a henchman. So, you know, one of the problems that we'll put there, I'm just going to put a 1 like that. One of the problems is the henchman that we have to deal with. And that could last all 5 pages, just him fighting the henchman. But I want to keep it a little interesting, give him a little pizzazz. So we're going to say that's the henchman. The second thing that he'll have to fight with, and this will keep it pretty quick. Anybody that's seen Power Rangers, like the original Power Rangers, Rita, she would send a monster to Earth, and she would get her staff once the Power Rangers were destroying that monster, and she'd throw it towards Earth, and it would crash in there, and all this power would come up, and the monster would grow, and then the Power Rangers had to go, oh, we can't do anything, so they'd summon their magical giant dinosaur Zords, and they would form Megazord and take it out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say the villain's going to cast a spell that makes the henchman even worse, okay? So I'm just going to put henchman times 2, okay? And for me, because I'm talking about it out loud, now I know that's the problem. And that's the only problem that's going to happen, okay? But at the end of Act 2, something has to happen with the hero. So the hero, maybe he has to make a choice. That sounds fun. What's the choice he can make? Well, he has to save the lady. So what is the choice presented to him? And this is where you can get a little creative, a little fun. We'll say the choice is, we'll do the Spider-Man cliche. Anybody that's seen Spider-Man, which one was it? It was the one with the terrible Green Goblin. So it was the first one. If anybody remembers when Green Goblin had the bus full of kids held up by a wire on the bridge, and then he had Mary Jane, and he let them both go at the same time, and the hero had to decide what to do? Screw it. We're going to rip it off just for the sake of keeping it simple. That's what the villain's going to do, okay? So the villain, at the very end of Act 5, he's going to put the lady in a situation where she can't really get out of it, and maybe the bad guy's going to shoot a giant blast or something like that, like a big energy blast at a school. I don't even know why they're fighting there, but what the hell. So I'm going to put lady and school. So right away I can tell you the conclusion should probably have 2 pages, but I'm just going to keep it in the just here. So the very last page, what we're going to have is, because it's that cliffhanger, for Act 3, he's going to, the hero, he somehow uses a magic ability that he never knew he had. So, or he had. So we'll say hero uses Ice Blast. That sounds fun. Ice Blast to deflect. There's no point writing all this. To deflect it, and with his super speed, saves the lady. And in the very last panel, he doesn't get the villain, and the villain gets away, okay? And I mean, this is very, very primitive and quick, and you could spend a whole bunch of time right here deciding right on that. And I haven't even worried about dialogue yet. This is just the plots and the actions that are going to happen here, okay? So I'll just show you real quick. We won't have time to actually draw through all this. I just wanted to show you guys something that I have a little fun with this. So we got our cover here. So page 1, right here. We're going to have maybe a nice little image of the hero right in the foreground looking in. And we see the villain holding the lady and his henchman standing in front of him. And he's, haha, you'll never get her, save the day, whatever. So now we have 5 pages, okay? So page 2, the main villain tells the henchman to go after the hero. In page 3, the hero makes very quick work of him. Just a couple punches, and maybe the bad guy's down and out for the count. Page 4, the villain's just, oh man, what just happened there? That's not how this should be. You know, I've got a surprise for you. A little cliffhanger there. You turn the page, and the hero standing there as the main big bad guy turns into a big old henchman. Oh man, how's the hero going to get out of this? Page 6. The hero, I don't know, reaches into him and just gives him a huge uppercut and sends the bad guy into the sun. And what you're probably going to want to do, and this is one of the things, you can start to see the problems with spacing and how many pages you work with and stuff, but what I've put here, the last page now has to be the villain right here maybe shooting a blast at the school and dropping a lady off a cliff or whatever's going on. And here we would have to show him deflecting the ice blast and saving the girl with the last panel of the hero or the villain going away. And before we wrap up this very quick and condensed video, I'll tell you right now, 1 page for that kind of a conclusion is way too under par. I would probably bump that up to 2 pages and put Act 2 down to 4 pages. Get that action. Maybe he only fights the henchman that entire time. You know, maybe I don't need to have that second henchman because I'm just running out of room. Excuse me. But one thing I do want to just emphasize is, especially when you're working in a situation like this, break it down to its bare minimum. You don't need to have it, showing some big epic tale. If you want to, go ahead. I would suggest trying it out very primitive just to see what you think, how you feel about it. You know, what kind of ideas are sparking from this. And then the 2 other things I wanted to say was, now that I have this, and I have my mini comic that tells me the beginning and the end in the middle. Let's say I wanted to turn this into a 22-page book. It's very easy now. I know what my introduction needs to be. I know what the bad guy's fighting him in the middle, and at the end the bad guy's got to get away, but the hero deflects with the ice blast and saves the lady. So now maybe my introduction's 4 pages, and I kind of give that dialogue between them, like, oh, you'll never save this and that. And then Act 2, I can start giving more problems for the hero to face. The henchman's really giving him a hard time. And then Act 3, I can get like 3 pages maybe of him actually, concentrating and trying to figure out how can he deflect this stuff, or add more plots in there. And then in the opposite way is, let's say you had that original superhero story plotted out for a 22-pager. Break it down into this, the most simplest version, and then knock out one of these guys, a quick mini comic. So I mean, I know this video is probably way too condensed. Maybe a lot of you guys didn't know what was going on, but I hope at least some of you guys will give this a shot. At least look into mini comics, because personally, I wish I knew about these when I was growing up. The idea of folding paper, I mean, this is stuff that I grew up with. And I haven't done anything since that, and I think just that primitive thing of folding paper, it's very hands-on, and you can start, the ideas just, at least for me, start flowing, and this necessarily isn't something that would get you that big job that you're trying to get or anything, but as a personal thing, it's very rewarding. Very rewarding. You're going to have a comic done that you could show people, or you can just flip through just to get that experience. And I mean, this is also a really fun way to break that ice. If you're feeling intimidated about going to, like, let's say an 11x17 Bristol, trying to draw, Spider-Man web slinging through New York City, that's pretty detailed. But this is a couple footsteps, I would think, in the right direction of whatever you're trying to do. But give it a shot. Do your research, check it out. I hope this video helped you guys out a little bit anyway. And I guess with that, we'll wrap it up. So thank you guys for watching. You guys, again, can check out my stuff at jonathanrector.com. If you guys are on Twitter, by all means, follow me on there, Art by Jar. And if anybody's got any comments, questions, anything, feel free to contact me, and I'll try to help you guys out. So thank you, and thank you once again to everybody that I've come across that's shown me about mini comics. I feel really good about it. So I'll leave you guys again. Take care, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.